So I actually really enjoyed Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons. It was a really charming movie, something slightly different for DC Studios, but I still feel like you can enjoy it from start to finish and it's just such a great addition to the animated films. What is up everybody, welcome back to my channel Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So in this video we are going to be reviewing Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons, which is the latest DC animated original movie, and I just have to say I absolutely loved this movie. I think it has superb CGI animation, a really charming film, brilliant lead characters, and something slightly different for DC Studios, and it was really easy to follow. I would say it did feel a little bit repetitive and also a little bit predictable, as you do know what's going to happen pretty much in the next couple of scenes. And it does retell and retrace a lot of steps that, you know, DC fans have seen a number of times. But despite all of that, at least from the second half onwards, it really does get going in terms of telling a brand new storyline, and it was just such an enjoyable film, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait to break it down with you in this movie review. So this film teams up both Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne as they have to get to know each other and work together to kind of form the younger version of Superman and Batman and defeat Starro as he is trying to take over the entire world and galaxy. The storyline does focus primarily a lot more on Jonathan Kent than Damian Wayne, and you get to see his origin storylines in terms of how he gets his superpowers, all of his lovely, positive, happy family dynamic, and it is pretty much friction-free in terms of how he has grown up, whereas Damian Wayne has had a lot more of a rougher upbringing, and very similar to DC League of Super Pets, even though it does focus on these two characters that you don't typically see in other animated productions. But what I do think is really cool is that it doesn't forget its wider DC world. So let's review this from a positive point of view first. So I absolutely love the fact that it has the entire DC sandbox and it can kind of do whatever it wants. It can bring any characters into it that it likes, and it definitely does take advantage of that in the best possible way. I think it's a really cool and charming new storyline. I think it's going to attract and bring in a slightly younger audience and make them true DC fans. And I love the relationship and partnership between Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne, and the two of them just work together so well. However, from a negative point of view, like I established earlier on, it does focus a lot on Jonathan Kent, and Damian Wayne as a result just feels a little bit like a secondary character, even though he should be at the same level as Jonathan Kent in terms of prominence in this storyline. But you don't really know that much about his upbringing. I mean, they mention it here and there in passing, but I would have loved a lot more of a focus to be on Damian Wayne, as I do think he has the potential to even lead his own franchise, as he is that compelling. And also, I think Starro is, you know, taking over the world and doing all of this terrifying stuff, which is really great, but I would have loved a lot more layers and a lot more depth into his storyline. You do find out a little bit about it, like I said before, but I would have loved a lot more of a richer storyline being told with that, and also on Earth as well. He kind of takes over a lot of people, but I would have loved it if he had done a couple more sinister things. So I think this film easily could have had a slightly longer runtime and established all of those things a lot better. But that being said, what you do get in this movie is really solid from a storyline perspective. So as always, they have got some brilliant voice actors voicing all of the awesome characters in this DC production. So let's go through them one by one. So first up we have Jack Dylan Grazer, who once again definitely steps up to the plate and does such a good job in terms of bringing this believable version of Jonathan Kent, who is a really nice guy, a really sweet guy. He does get a bit bullied in school. He's also got a bit of an absent father. Yet throughout all of this, he's got such a positive attitude. And like with the Jonathan Kent character in the Lois and Lane live action series, they really do show that this character has got a bit of a blend of both Clark Kent and Lois Lane, which is really cool. And then of course, when he gets his own superpowers, all of that is really wicked. It is exactly as you would imagine in terms of a young boy who's got a lot of hope and charisma. Suddenly having Superman's powers, he just reacts in the way that you would imagine him to, and he uses his powers in a really cool way. So I feel like Jack Dylan Grazer does such a good job in bringing Superboy and Jonathan Kent to life. We've also got Jack Griffo voicing Damian Wayne, and by contrast, in a very similar way to Superman and Batman, Damian Wayne is a lot rougher and a lot tougher. But like I said earlier on, I just would have loved a lot more development with Damian Wayne, as like I said, he has the potential to be such an interesting character, whereas in this film they just focus so much on Jonathan Kent, which is fine, but I would have just loved a little bit more with Damian Wayne. But that being said, for what you do get in this movie, you can definitely feel like he is a bit neglected, as he really wants to be part of the Teen Titans, but they don't really want him in there because of his personality, and how he reluctantly has to partner up with Superboy, yet Superboy is really happy to work with him. So I feel like their dynamism and their dynamic is absolutely incredible. We've also got Travis Willingham voicing Superman in this film, and he does a really, really good job in terms of bringing the slightly older version of Superman to life, who is still doing all of the Superman things that we all have seen before, but you know, he's a lot older, he's a lot more experienced, and yet you do see, as you always see, as we have seen a million times already, Superman's origin storyline with Krypton being destroyed and his parents sending him on a shuttle all down to Earth. They do a really cool thing in terms of telling his storyline after that point via comic book animation, which is really, really cool, but I would have loved a little bit more from Superman. Similarly, we've also got Troy Baker, who is a true veteran in playing and voicing Batman, and in this film you get to see all of his broody, angsty sides, as we all know and love the Batman character to be, and he is a really cool paternal figure, just very different in his father parental style than Superman. Again, I would have loved a little bit more from him, but you know, it isn't really Superman and Batman's movie. They are really great supporting characters, but they definitely do put Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne to the forefront. We've also got Laura Bailey voicing Lois Lane, and she definitely brings the street smart aspects of this character out really, really well, as well as showing what she is like as a mother, which is really, really cool, but you know, we have seen it quite a bit now. Starro is a really, really cool villain, and I did love the connection in terms of establishing him as being a bit of a Superman villain, whilst also still being a villain to everybody else, but I did love the connection in what they did right in the start of this film. And also we have got a couple of Justice League members in here, and a couple of Teen Titans members in here as well, but they are definitely tertiary characters, as like I said, Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent in particular definitely are at the forefront, and there are also some really cool cameo appearances in this film, which I do feel like Marvel and DC are just absolutely experts in doing now. And so from a characters and actors point of view, I have to say this movie is also really, really brilliant. So from a visuals point of view, I have to say Battle of the Super Sons looks so good. Absolutely incredible CGI animated visuals. It definitely does feel very Disney-fied and very cute characters, but I do feel like it works for telling this storyline focusing on a younger generation, but at the same time it has all of the staples that you would expect. So for example, all of the powers looks really, really cool, all of the costumes look really, really brilliant, all of the space sequences look absolutely brilliant, all of the fight sequences are really, really cool as well. I feel like Starro is always a villain that just looks really, really brilliant. And then when you couple up all of Jonathan Kent learning all of his power stuff, all of Damian Wayne using all of the Bat technology stuff, it just feels like a true DC animated film, whilst also just being really, really modern as well. So from a comparisons point of view, I love all of the DC animated original movies, and I feel like this is a really great brand new addition to this awesome genre, and I feel like you can compare it to a lot of other films. I feel like it is pretty unique in what it is offering, but I feel like it is similar also to DC League of Super Pets. I feel like it borrows a lot of stuff from the Superman and Lois live action CW series, also a little bit from the Smallville series as well, a little bit similar to the Teen Titans animated series, and it does feel very similar to the other Batman and Superman animated original films as well. So I have to say, from a comparisons point of view, this movie is also pretty wicked. So overall, I'm sure you can tell, I actually really, really enjoyed Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons. It definitely is a lot more of a charming movie for DC, but it still has that necessary DC edge to it. I do hope that they do a sequel to this, as I feel like they establish this new Earth world really, really well, and hopefully in the future sequel they can focus a lot more on the Damian Wayne character and a lot more on Batman's world as well. But as far as this movie is concerned, I have to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of this film, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.